Indian Joe Potasnik, and all the great people who are working to ensure that we're 10,000 strong. They say 2 Jews, 3 opinions, but today we are one heart standing with Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I was born on October 7th, 1973, the beginning of the Yom Kippur War, and the very first songs that my little ears heard were the soothing lullaby of a song written by Chaim Hefner called Ani Mavtiach Lach. It was a song written to all of the children of the Yom Kippur, making a promise to them that in the wake of this terrible war on this holy day, that this would be the last war that they would know. But sadly, that promise has yet to be kept, but not for lack of trying. Not a day goes by in my life where I don't try and keep that same promise to my children. But just a few days ago, my wife, my kids and I were in Israel trying to keep that promise when we had to whisk our small children away and put them into bomb shelters. Whether we were eating ice cream on a Jerusalem street or in an amusement park in Tel Aviv, the sirens went off and we had to grab them and shelter them and shield them. But the one source of comfort that was brought was knowing that we were sleeping under the protection of the Iron Dome. And I want to pause for a moment and thank every single one of the legislators that were here and those that weren't here for the incredible work that they did and the work that AIPAC did in lobbying with the relationship between Israel and America so that we have an Iron Dome that keeps us safe. And while Iron Dome is protecting us, I think the next great invention that's going to come from Israel is something called the Irony Dome. Because there are some great ironies happening in the world that I want to draw to your attention. Israel is protecting its civilians from missiles from Hamas, while Hamas is using their civilians to protect them from attack. Israeli generals and colonels are the very first leading into battle, and they're yelling to all their troops behind them, Acharai, follow me! And sadly, these generals and colonels are some of the very first that are wounded and even killed. And meanwhile, speaking of ironies, the leaders of Hamas are sitting in 5-star hotels, eating delicious meals while barking orders to civilians to serve as shields. Israel is treating countless of its own and even the wounded Gazans in Israeli hospitals. And meanwhile, Hamas is using those very same hospitals to hide weapons and to shoot rockets. Gazans are claiming that the number of civilians is of epic number, causing condemnation from this building here called the United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, let me make something very, very, very clear to all of you gathered. If you are wearing jeans and a t-shirt and you are carrying an AK-47, you are not a civilian, you are a combatant. When you welcome Hamas into your living room and allow them to launch rockets next to your sofa, you are not a civilian, you are a combatant. When you are part of an election process that asks for a terrorist organization which proclaims in word and in deed that their primary objective is to destroy their neighboring country and not to build schools or commerce or jobs, you are complicit and you are not a civilian casualty. And lastly, when you fail to heed the pamphlets, the phone calls, the text messages, and the warning shots telling you to evacuate a building, and instead use yourself as a shield and use innocent children as a shield, you are not collateral damage. When you ignore those very moral warnings and align yourself with Hamas, you are a combatant. Obviously, warfare is ugly and it is bloody. And there is not one person gathered here today that celebrates the loss of innocent life, not one. And not one person who stands with us in spirit today that celebrates the loss of life. When in Israel, I attended the funeral of the 3 boys that were kidnapped and murdered, and I sent condolences and offered love on behalf of our community to the family of Muhammad Kabir, who was ruthlessly killed. Enough children have died innocently. Enough bloodshed. Enough. speaking of enough, and seeing the rally here today, there sadly are so many rallies happening in Europe, in Berlin, in Paris, and in London, decrying the so-called crimes that are happening there and in Israel. But meanwhile, not one foot has stomped and marched for the 1,700 people that died just this week and 200,000 together in Syria. Where's the outcry when ISIS is brutalizing people and hurting women, and Boko Haram is capturing young girls against their will? Where are the rallies in Berlin? Where are the rallies in London? And where are the rallies in Paris? Gazans, Hamasniks, they're all trying to garner support for holding Israel liable for war crimes in an international court, which is a preposterous claim. Israel is the most moral army in the history of civilization. They make these claims while having the very chutzpah to ferry their leaders and ambulances and to hide behind stockpiles of weapons in United Nations buildings. Hamas has decried this terrible and harmful blockade, asking for freedom even though we gave them freedom 9 years ago. Yet somehow or another, Hamas was able to receive enough concrete to build more than 35 terror tunnels, and enough weaponry from Iran and Qatar and others to amass more than 10,000 rockets that rain aimlessly on innocent women, children, and the elderly. This concrete didn't go to building kindergartens or hospitals or commerce. Would that have gone to food or diapers or tools for building homes? Imagine what we could be celebrating today as opposed for praying for the reality. And lastly, in this list of ironies, just a few hours ago, Israel paused again for the 5th time for a humanitarian ceasefire and allowed Red Cross and Red Crescent workers into Gaza to provide aid as needed. But meanwhile, for 5 years, Gilad Shalit, who was held captive against his will, was not offered one visit from the International Red Cross. What a shameful double standard. Ladies and gentlemen, this list of ironies could go on, and every single one of you could add legitimately to the list. At these trying times, we stand here united from avenue to avenue, and we stand with the state of Israel. We are not Reform and we are not Orthodox. We are not Christian and we are not Muslim. We are not Democrat and we are not Republican. We are all part of Am Yisrael, the nation of Israel. And I want to ask every one of you that if you stand with Israel and you stand with freedom, wave your flag and stand with us now. If you're a Christian and you love humanity and you love freedom, wave your flag with us now. If you're a Muslim and you love peace, wave your flag and stand with us now. And if you're part of the media and your job is to promote the truth, then do that and share the truth and wave your flag and stand with us now. Stand up and wave your flag, all of you, and let the world know. Let them hear in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv and Sderot, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Kiryat Malachi, in Paris and Berlin and in London. Let them all hear that we stand with the state of Israel. Let them know that we can sing that song, Ani Mavtiach Lach, and we can bring that promise to fruition, that it shouldn't be a dream anymore, that the hope is turning to reality. Let that be our will and our destiny. And let us all say, Amen.